Griffin and everyone that's in there, is there okay, what about when you look at your life now? Of course, you've had several lives, so it might be, is it hard for you to separate and be Griffin and talk to me and
No.
completely answer it for that? Okay. Um, what about your life about dying young is good and what is bad about dying young?
It like throws back.
Yeah. Like, what did you hate about it, looking at it, and what did you like about it?
So I think the hardest thing for me right now, he's got both of his hands up. I think the
Uh-huh.
hardest thing for me to answer is what is good and what is bad,
Okay.
because that's definitely through a human lens, and
Right.
I'm
Okay.
most removed from that.
As you could be. Yeah.
Yes, but I'm more attached to my character, my personality of that lifetime. But I can throw down some opinions, like,
Right. When I was writing it, Griff, that crossed my mind that you don't do good and bad, but I didn't have another word.
yeah, I don't think there is another word he said.
Yeah.
So I can look at the agreements that we chose to make as a family, and
Uh-huh.
I can see why me leaving early was good for the overall connection to loss. We need that muscle for, you can tell me what that is though, for about 7 years in the future. So,
Okay.
I mean, that's what, 10, 10, 11 years from
Uh-huh.
his passing.
Uh-huh. Our family
And
will need that muscle.
yep,
Okay.
because there's something in your life that is bringing that back up. And because you've gone through it and because you've had all those years, because you've had that, you just go, here it is. And there's no pushing over, there's no failing, anything like that.
Uh-huh.
That also goes for Dylan as well. So if it's showing up in your life, it's showing up in Dylan's life.
Right.
He doesn't really link that to his dad, though.
If I'm gonna lose Dylan, I'm gonna be pissed and I'm gonna punch you in the face.
Good. Go ahead, punch me in the face. Because no, it's not about that. It's not about the loss within the family. This is much larger than the both
Okay.
of you. It's
Okay.
coming in.
Okay.
And
I know there are moms that have lost all their family. Like I can't even believe it sometimes what I see.
yeah. He said it was good for us to have that experience because it helped us understand the value of life.
Uh-huh.
And it helped us realize that not everybody is perfect. Because for a moment there, when we looked at other people, if they were smiling and doing great, then they were just fucking amazing and we wanted to be like them, but we had no idea the shit they were carrying.
Right. Absolutely.
It also got it to where we would stick by our family stronger than we did before. And you are still learning that.
Just a wee bit.
Negatives, I guess if I'm sticking to being human and looking at it, is that I would have liked more time. Um, sometimes if I linger on the circumstance of how I left, I get mad that my friends wouldn't take responsibility. Because I don't even know if I want to call them friends, but that's what we're going to do in this situation. You know, he says I get angry a lot that people are self-centered. So it kind of fed that whole energy. Um, but if I'm looking at it from where I am now, I can really only identify the good parts that came from it. Like all of this that's come out of it, I've talked more now than I did when I was alive. I've helped more people now than what I could have if I was living. Not that everybody's death needs to be validated, but mine made an impact on a lot of people, a lot of young kids, that when something's going wrong, they're not going to be quiet about it anymore. That to me means the world, because that shows me that when they grow up, they're going to teach others about that, and especially their own children.
I know I don't want to talk about that night because it gets me sideways and you sideways. I guess I would just ask how you resolve that in your mind, Griff. You just can't? Is it impossible to resolve it where you are
But where I am, there's nothing to resolve.
because you're in
To
peace?
me, yeah, he says when I can look at it from my angle, from the time, I've been here a while now.
Right,
When I look at it, I don't see like there's something wrong. It just seems like there were so many opportunities, and this is what came from it.
right. Well, just like years later, I was sitting at the Starbucks, Jamie, and I found out that while Griff's in the house, they hid him in the house. The kid who's the main culprit guy went back in a car with another friend of Griffin's who I happen to know and shot up heroin while Griff's dying in the house. Yeah. So more partying and more partying. So, these little truths come out, which has taken 7 years, and I still probably don't know the whole truth. But the point is, I could gladly kill the kid who did that to Griffin. When other parents tell me, oh, don't you think they were scared? I don't want to hear that. Scared of what? The one kid was 22 years old and I didn't know him. Scared of what? They weren't scared of shit. You know what I'm saying? And I can't resolve it. So I try not to entertain it because you see how it gets me lit. Like up here.
He's, Mom, they weren't scared.
No, they were
They
selfish.
didn't know. They just thought that I was some dipshit dork for, passing out and causing trouble.
Right. But I'm just saying people say, oh, they were scared like they didn't know he was dying. They thought he was going to sleep it off. If they knew he was dying, they would have gotten help. But yet they testified that he grabbed his heart and said he needed help and he was foaming at his mouth. What
That
more?
they weren't going to help.
No, regardless. Yeah, regardless. And,
That's okay. I do my best to haunt them every now and then.
yeah,
Drive the point home.
right?
It works.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, because when parents say that to me or someone says, oh, of course they thought he was going to sleep it off. Really? Because I've never seen anyone foam at the mouth and ask for help and just drug them up the driveway by their feet, fuck up their back so bad the coroner calls you to open their head because it's foul play. Wants to know why he's all fucked up, you know. I never heard of that before, and I've been to some rad parties myself, so that's just crazy.
He says, all of what you say is true.
Yeah. But you're in
I'm
peace
done with
about it,
him.
Griff? You're in peace about it?
He said yes.
Okay. Then I'll be in peace about it here. Um, is it hard when you look where you are? Like you said, the dying young part, you would have liked to have more time, you know? But is dying old harder? Like old? Harder than dying young?
No.
No.
He was, first of all, dying is not hard.
Young or
Right?
old? Right. Okay.
Right?
Right.
um,
Right. No,
you
I
know
know that.
that.
Yeah. It's so
Is
easy
it?
and scary.
Mm-hmm. Because I
Yeah.
think that when people have more experiences under their belt, they can then they create a belief system that when you've done enough, it's okay to let go. It's a stupid belief system, but doesn't need to be true at all. But that's what you guys tell yourselves, I guess, to
Right.
make you feel good that, oh,
Right.
they lived an old life. So
They're
they're,
full.
yeah, it's full. It's so happy. They're in a better place. Fuck all that shit.
Right.
Said nice and slow, like that. Um,
Right.
Because all that's just stuff you tell yourself. It's not really a part of anybody's, real truth. If I'm saying I'm older, because they have that belief system, it is easier for them to say, oh yeah, I'm sick. Or yeah, this is not going well, I'm gonna leave.
Right.
You know? If we didn't have that belief system, we would actually at any age feel okay about dying. And he says, you've noticed, like when we listen to the stories about how younger kids, when they have like leukemia and cancers and brain tumors, they're fucking angels. They take it in such stride. And it's
Right.
that middle age that has the panic. It's the parents, it's everybody else who's falling apart. And the kid's
Right.
like, don't worry, mom. Like, I'm ready to go. I've made my peace. And you're like, how? How can you have made your peace when I can't?
Right.
Because kids know more. They're more connected. They get it. I
Right.
think closer from birth and closer to death, there's those sweet spots about the beauty of life and death.
Right.
Is that middle part. Like if it's a bell curve, you're the furthest away from ground zero, from death, and you
Right.
panic and you start to believe that you're separate and all of this. He's this amazing fear and rottenness kind of comes into us, and that's where we freak out.
Right. Okay. So that being said, let's dive deeper into that. If there's someone dying today that's listening to this, Griff, or has a death sentence from a doctor or laying in a hospital dying, and everyone around you is freaking out, what would you say to the people?
The people that are living or the person who's dying?
Whatever you want to say. The person that's dying, let's start there.
Doesn't matter what age,
Doesn't matter.
they're
But they
dying.
know they're going to die. It's
Awesome.
imminent. Within the next 24 hours, they're going to die. They've been told.
He said I would sit next to them and I would talk to them. And I would talk like next to their ear. You got to get close to them. But I know that they can hear me no matter if they're in an induced coma, a regular coma, if they're on a bunch of painkillers, morphine. I know they can hear because I was all fucked up and I could hear shit. I could hear shit further than I could normally hear if I were awake in consciousness. Same, right?
I heard both the dimensions.
Yes. I'd sit down and I'd tell that person, this is all okay. And it's okay for you to leave. And I would tell them, follow that happy feeling, follow that content feeling. You don't need to fight for me. You don't need to fight for anybody that's here. Do it for you. And I would release all the cords, that they anchored themselves to identify who they are. Because how selfish is it of me or of anyone else to tell someone to stay, to grieve so hard before the person has left, because that right there is just your ego being bruised. It's you being challenged on who will I be when this person leaves, because I've
Right.
defined myself against our relationship, and when it no longer exists, what will I become?
Right.
And that's the grief and that's the bereavement. You don't really, once you understand that that person is living on consciously all around you and in another dimension, you're not going to sit down and cry about it, because you're going to say, but they're fine. You
Right.
might be sad that you can't figure it out, but
Right.
even that too, over the next few years, that's all going to be advertised and taught to people on how to do that kind of communication.
Right. Does that go with the saying of Griffin, don't feel sorry for me, like me, your mother? Griffin lost everything. Is that right?
True. That's true.
Yeah.
I had to change everything. I didn't even keep 1%. All
Right.
of it's gone.
Right.
Like gone the way it was, not gone, disappeared,
Right.
transformed.
Right. But the person that's dying today, Griffin, is where they're going so much better than here. Like there's just nothing to be afraid of. Like,
There's definitely nothing to be afraid of.
do you have
There's
to feel
nothing here
guilty of
that's
things you
coming
haven't
for.
finished?
No,
How do you
that's
feel about
all
things?
man-made.
It won't feel like that when you go there?
It's all man-made. That is shit we tell ourselves so that we feel like we've lived a better life. You can come in here and be the biggest fuck up from day one to your last day. When you get here, we're not measuring you by your fuck ups.